All right, good evening, and call this meeting to order. We do have one late item, so with that, regarding the appointment to the Number 2 Compensation Advisory Group, we'll do that under new business. Motion to adopt the agenda would be in order.
Move. Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. Delegation this evening, Drew Hatfield, Station Leader at the Comox Valley Marine Rescue Society. Drew, welcome, and you have the floor, sir.
And I'm going to excuse myself due to a potential conflict of interest, so I'll just do that.
Thank you, Councillor Arnott.
Maybe not the other two.
We'll let you know. All right, Drew.
All right, thank you, Your Worship and councillors. Thank you for providing this opportunity for myself to come and represent RCMSR and the Comox Valley Marine Rescue Society here this evening. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background on who we are, what we do, talk a little bit about our training, and then also talk about the society and their roles in this organization. So history, what we do, members, talk about training, society, and at the end, cover costs. So lifeboats have been on the west coast of BC for over 150 years. In 1978, a group of SAR lifeboat stations got together and formed what is now known as the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary Pacific. In May of 2012, the Coast Guard Auxiliary Pacific rebranded itself to create a distinct identity, separating themselves from the Coast Guard, and renamed themselves the Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue. The Royal actually is kind of a unique situation where it was one of the titles granted by Queen Elizabeth II as one of the monies in lieu of, or grants in lieu of wedding gifts for Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge. And this organization continues to grow every year. A little bit about our history and some of our vessels there. The one on the right-hand side is the original Bruce Brown. It was an old Coast Guard vessel that started the auxiliary unit out here. 20 years ago, the boat on the bottom left-hand side was brought into service. It's a boat that was built in Campbell River, and has served the valley very well for the past 20 years. Bruce Brown will be retired when the new vessel comes into service. Current history. The third vessel that was acquired in 2008 is the Paul Giles, which is a rigid hull inflatable vessel that was provided was purchased to support a lot of the inland issues that we have upstream, whether it be the estuary or in the shallow areas, whether it be around Denman and Hornby Island. There's areas where the larger vessels can't go, so we bought a shallow draft vessel, which this one serves well. And our newest vessel is on the bottom left-hand side, the Lazo. So what do we do? The RCMSR provides 24-hour day coverage, 365 days a year, to people out on the water that require rescue services, whether that be searching, towing, broken down, medical emergencies. We're out there to provide that service. As you can see in the middle there, we cover a large coastline, over almost 30,000 kilometers of coastline, 6,500 islands, and almost 500,000 square kilometers of inshore and offshore area. Obviously, it's a challenge to provide SAR response with regular Coast Guard vessels, and that was one of the reasons why RCMSR, Coast Guard Auxiliary Pacific, really fits the bill well to provide services in this area. We have 42 stations, over 1,100 volunteers, and last year performed over 900 missions. Locally, again, we provide search and rescue, towing, assistance for breakdown in the area, and we cover a fairly large area, from the south side of Hornby and Denman up to Quadra and over to Paul River where required. Most of our response area is Buckley Bay North and northeast of the Comox area. Last year we had 43 calls. We averaged between 40 and 45 a year. And in 2014, this equated to 125 hours of actual on-call or call-out time that our volunteers provided, for a total of 500 hours of volunteer time. The graph on the right-hand side shows a little bit of breakdown of the type of calls that we have received. We're also out in the public. You can see there a picture of us at the Nautical Day parades, performing assistance there at the Build, Bail, and Sail, as well as we've assisted with dragon boat races and other activities within the area. The snow and surf is something that we've been doing for the last 10 years as part of the volunteer activities in the community. We also provide a Kids Don't Float loaner station that is down on the Comox, right beside the boat ramp at the Comox dock there. This stand provides child-sized life jackets for the general public to borrow if they don't have them. Over the past number of years, I think we end up on average with more life jackets than we start out with at the beginning of the year, because people tend to donate to help support the cause there. Again, a very well received and very well received program within the community. We also provide assistance with doing volunteer vessel checks to ensure that vessels are Transport Canada compliant and they have all the safety equipment on board. So our membership. Our membership lives in your community. They are like a volunteer firefighter in the community. They create a pager. They're available to take call 24 hours a day. They continue to train on a regular basis, and they maintain their own vessels. We currently have members that range from 23 to 75 years of age. We have active crew members of 38 and 10 people who support us in all our activities, whether it be our maintenance or our boating education programs. The membership is comprised of a number of people who work on the water. We have coxswains, who are the equivalent of a small vessel captain, who lead our crews and are responsible for the crews when they're out in the water. We have advanced crew members that provide assistance, whether it be on the helm, training, or navigation aids. And we have crew members who support us in all the other roles who are working towards advanced crew level. As you can see, there's a number of activities that we do provide and train for. Every fall, we are on an intake where we have 4 to 6 new members that we bring on. We do an orientation in the fall, and then they go through a 5-month training program starting in January that takes them right through all their crew sign-offs so that when they're out on the water, they're a fully able crew to assist in all activities on the water. As you can see there, a number of different areas that they cover. So there's a broad range of skills that these people need and a broad range of skills that they're able to provide based on their training. Most of our members well exceed the 40 hours a year in training. Last year, we performed 155 training exercises, most of them during the daytime. 8 of them were in restricted visibility, so visibility of less than 1 nautical mile, for a total of 373 hours of training time, or just under 2,000 person hours of time. So these 38 volunteers performed almost 2,000 hours of training time in 2014. And you can see that's page 1 of 2 in the graphics there of all the different activities that they're performing and training on a regular basis. We also have other opportunities for our members to train at other facilities. In Victoria, in the Coast Guard base, there's a simulated navigation trainer where our crews are able to go down and get Transport Canada certified training in small vessel operation, as well as restricted visibility or signal training, as it's referred to. We also have our coxswains are able to receive specialized training at Banfield at the Coast Guard Station there, which is an 80-hour course over 6 days, which is an intensive course, obviously not compact amount of time, that focuses in on boat handling skills on the west coast of Vancouver Island. Comox was also the first location of the first North Island SAREX, or an exercise that involved 6 northern Vancouver Island and western Vancouver Island stations. We had people from Hewlett, Port Alberni, Nanaimo, Port McNeill, Deep Bay, and ourselves involved in this exercise that got together almost 50 people, plus we had the Coast Guard lifeboat from Fall River Comer join us in part of the training exercise. We were also lucky enough to be in the back door of 442 Squadron, who also came and did a presentation and talked about their role and how we interact with them and how we can assist them in their role. As you can see from the photographs there, that they did land-based training as well as out on the water. It wasn't a beautiful day on the Saturday, and the sun came out on the Sunday, of course, when we finished our training. So, who pays the bills for all this? Our society. The Comox Valley Marine Rescue Society is the fundraising arm of the RCMSR for the Comox Valley here. They raise money both locally and through provincial grants, through gaming grants, as well as opportunities through the regional district, as well as local donations. The vessels that you see out there or in the picture are 100% community owned. They're all the funds are raised locally, and the assets belong to the community. The Society also provides operating funds to ensure that we have gas in our vessels, we can change the oil, and we can keep them running so that we can provide the service. Some of the funding comes through our taskings to the Joint Rescue Centre in Victoria, and some grants from the training grants from the Coast Guard to assist us in providing the services. But the rest of the funding comes from the greater community. Our new vessel. Hopefully you've had the opportunity to enjoy some nice fresh air out there in the sunshine and gone down and had a chance to see our new vessel down at the dock. This new vessel will be coming into service on March 19th of this year. It's a 36-foot vessel with 2 twin diesel engines, 435 horsepower engines that are powered by Hamilton jets. So instead of your traditional outboard engine, they have an inboard jet, which provides exceptional handling capabilities. With the handling capabilities comes its challenges in learning how to drive the boat, but that's another story. So, future. Currently, we occupy 2 berths for both the Laszlo and the Paul Giles on East Lip down at the marina. We also have our rescue station, which is between the wharf and the upland area down there, that provides us our storage for our equipment, our maintenance facilities, as well as a small training area within that facility. We currently are subletting a space for the Bruce Brown, which will be decommissioned or put into service in another location. But graciously, we've had an opportunity to sublet that space in the interim since we received our new boat in September. So we're going to leave you with this request. I know that you're considering how to raise funds and increase opportunities to maintain the facilities that you have. But the Society was provided an opportunity in 2005 to relocate their building, or locate their building here and store their vessels in the Comox Municipal Marina. And we'd like to make that request to continue that relationship by providing us the 2 stalls to store the Paul Giles as well as the Laszlo, and continue with our station being in the location we're in. And with that, if you have any questions, I have Fred Sankey here also with the Society who can answer questions if you have them as well.
Thank you, Drew, for your presentation. Questions? Councillor Grant.
Yeah, you kind of touched on where this all came from with our marina rates and trying to keep our boating public happy. It sounds to me as though funding is tough for you guys, or at least it's not. There's not an open wallet there. The discussion over whether there would be an alternate location for you guys, i.e., the government wharf, where you could use that. Does that work, or would you have to pay for that? Like, I think you guys are providing a really valuable service for us, but we may as well know the answer.
Well, right now I don't have an answer for your question. That is something that we would have to explore. It's nothing that we've approached the Harbour Authority to see if that is an option, but should the municipal marina not be available to us, or if there's challenges with us continuing with our moorage there, that may be something that we might have to consider.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Councillor Ken?
2 questions. Just to refresh the memory of some of us that are new here and don't know the history as well, where were you located before 2005?
So I'm going to lean on a few of my people in the background here to support me, but my understanding is that the ramp down to the Comox Bay Marina at the foot of the ramp was where this vessel was located originally.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We used to have a little 6-foot square cube where we kept all our kitchen, so when we got changed, we had to get changed in the rain. So this little facility we have now is a tremendous improvement.
And the second question is if you could, your total yearly budget, and the second part of that would be, what is the percentage of your budget that you rely on grants, and where do those grants come from?
So
provincial or federal or
up until this year, the Society has received a fairly healthy gaming grant to purchase the new vessel. The new vessel that is shown there, the Cape Laszlo, is a $600,000 vessel. So gaming grant supported, I believe, about 500,000 of that vessel, and 100,000 was raised locally. So the rest of our operating grants are all from local donations. The regional district is a supporter of that. We do have societies and personal donations out there that help support us. But our operating costs are in the neighborhood of $65,000 to $70,000 a year to operate our vessels, which primarily is related to fuel and maintenance costs associated with them.
Thank you.
Councilor Price?
And thank you for your presentation, and thank you for working with you. And so just to clarify, the space that you use now is the same as in 2005 when the original agreement was put in place?
So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there in that when the original agreement was put in place, we only had the one vessel. The Bruce Brown was the only vessel that we had. Shortly thereafter, we acquired the second vessel, the Paul Giles inflatable boat, and space was provided for us adjacent to that site, so they nose up against each other.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Grant?
My question would be to the CAO. They had a request here, which I would have no trouble agreeing with their request, but will that come up? Are we going to deal with that request at our next meeting, or when would we do that?
We'll have that on the committee of the whole meeting next week.
For next meeting? Okay.
Any further questions? I just had one on disposition of the Bruce Brown. Do you anticipate receiving much funding in that regard, and where would that go?
The disposal of the Bruce Brown will be donated to the RCMSR, and it's planned on being relocated to another facility. At this point in time, we don't know where that location is, but there is a number of voting safety places within the RCMSR's purview that they may end up. So if you're in Okanagan, you may see the Bruce Brown at some point in time when you're up there water skiing.
All right, great, thank you. All right, seeing no further questions, thanks again for your presentation.
Great. Thank you very much for your opportunity.
Just let the room clear here for a second.
John will start and show clarify.
Welcome to stay forever.
Kind of like Wilson, right? Or missed the results. All right, so we'll move on to minutes of meetings. So for approval, the February 4th council meeting minutes.
Second.
On approval, all those in favor? That's carried. And then for receipt, the committee of the whole meeting minutes of February 11th.
Second.
Receipt, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Recommendation 1 is regarding council remuneration for 2015. The recommendation from committee of the whole was that mayor and council remuneration increase be set at 0% for 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I just wanted to point out, in case people didn't do the math, it results in savings of about $1,500 for the year. And my only concern in regards to that, I know that's a relatively small amount, but my concern, I suppose, based on the formula and given the history of that bylaw, is that if we do that on a regular basis, we will end up in a situation where we're going to fall behind, arguably, other communities and result in much higher increases. And the whole intention of that bylaw was to make sure that we can do that. And it's a tough issue, I know, for local governments. And they struggle with it all the time. That formula has worked to this point. I'm not questioning necessarily the resolution for this year, but I just want council to keep that in mind.
Yeah, we also, I recall, when we had to bring a consultant in to do this, and I would suggest that almost any savings you get, you end up paying a consultant to tell you where you should go. So, for a year, I don't think it's so bad, but I think you want to be careful as well.
Yes, Councilor Finn?
I'll just not counter that, but add to that as part of consideration is that I think it's the perception of the public that we're trying to set the agenda for our council term is that we're looking at dollars and cents, and we're looking to be fair to taxpayers, and I think the public perception needs to appreciate that and be changed, that we're putting ourselves not first, but we're prepared to put ourselves on hold while we deal with other things.
No, fair comment, and again, the amount involved at 1% on average is $1,500. And I just made sure that the CEO was going to enact a policy going forward that for any councillor who asks their agenda to be published in hard copy, we would be charging $1 a page. So, so get on your iPads and your Blackberries. And really, truly, I see Councillor McKinnon, you're leading the way, so thank you. All right, you ready for the question? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Hard to vote against that one when it's front page news, isn't it? All right, next one is council regarding the downtown business improvement renewal, that we proceed with that renewal on its own initiative in accordance with section 213 of the community charter.
I'll move first, second, and third reading.
Well, we're going to do that shortly.
Oh, we're gonna? Okay.
But that would be
sorry.
forwarded to the council.
I'm ahead, yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Move that. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And similarly, for bylaw purposes, that the sanitary service for 1139 Cadbury Road be forwarded to council for first, second, and third reading, and that the connection fee be waived.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. Marina rates, we discussed.
I'm gonna get the contract.
0%.
Yeah.
The Marina birthday rates we discussed last week, 1% increase overall, and that the next financial plan be drafted accordingly.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. I don't think we have to do the next one, do we? Just
it's done.
so do we vote? Sorry.
Sorry, just before
Yeah.
we move off the Marina birthing rate, do we need any direction to have the Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue on the Committee of the Whole agenda?
No, I think CEO mentioned earlier that it'll be on the whole for next week.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for that.
I might ask if it's possible to get the grant from the regional district for the committee of the whole.
It's $25,000
$25,000
per year.
I missed that.
Yeah. That's okay, I think I mentioned it last week. All those in favor then? Motion's carried. Councillor Arnott again? I don't think he has a conflict with garbage rates.
I've heard some of his arguments, I don't know.
All right, regarding the increases to garbage rates, as discussed last week, again, the council considered first, second, and third readings.
Move.
Second.
Those in favor? Motion's carried. And also under minutes of meetings, the special council meeting minutes of the public hearing held February 4th be approved.
Move.
Second, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And I have asked staff to look at incorporating a shorter script, as well as consider including these kinds of non-contentious matters within the scope of our normal council meeting. So we'll see where that goes. Okay, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Manager report for receipt.
Move.
On receipt, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Anything arising out of that? I will mention one thing. Under item 1, both Councillor Swift and I were at the Regional Solid Waste meeting last week in Cowan River, and just so everyone knows, the program, pilot program has been continued to the end of December 2016. And so that's in hand for the next year and a bit. And it was something that looked like it might go sideways, but we managed to prevail and keep it going until they sort things out. Campbell River is going through a request for proposal process right now for an organic waste processing facility, so we'll see where that goes. And so there's that update there, and otherwise, I don't know if there's anything further. Yes?
Just a question, the Baybrook property, do we have an idea when that's coming?
Yeah, that should be coming soon, because it's supposed to be in February, so.
Yes, I'm just about completed on the draft. There was some comments that I was hoping to get some additional feedback from the Parks Director. I may proceed without it because he'll be away until sometime in March.
We may see it next week.
So you may see it next week.
Okay.
All right, nothing further, we'll move on to bylaws. So for the bylaw 1799, first, second, and third reading, that's the refuse or garbage collection bylaw.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried.
What page are you on?
Yes, please.
I've got
Minutes.
regional district minutes in the middle
I
there.
don't know what happened there, I must have missed that. Under special reports?
Yes,
Okay, we'll go back for a second.
25. Motion to receive.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Hopefully nothing arising out of that. Where are we at then? So we did garbage already? Yeah. Okay, so we'll go to Point Homes Sanitary Lift Station. That's for extending that service. Sewer.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. Downtown Business Area Improvement Bylaw again for first, second, and third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor? Motion's carried. And Marina Bylaw.
Move.
Sorry, not? You gotta get
Oh,
on.
you gotta go, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I wasn't keeping up fast enough.
Yeah. I can still justify myself
Page 44.
here.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Make them back again?
Yep. So that takes care of bylaws. I understand now that our Director of Finance and our engineer will be presenting on the next matter regarding infrastructure applications. So give them a second to set up, and they will be providing a presentation on this report before we get to any recommendations.
So it's a fairly brief slideshow. Shelley was doing the application, so I volunteered to put the presentation together. The issue, as we know, is erosion along a portion of Lazo Road in Point Homes. This is an area that came into the town a few years ago by annexation. The local property owners asked to come into the town so they could get access to water service, and thereby we ended up with that portion of Lazo Road. You can see this December 9th storm photo is showing considerable spray and foam up on the beach and pretty significant wave action. This is from the south end of the project of where it would start looking north towards the boat launch. And this is closer to the boat launch. You get a better view of the storm action. This is kind of a cheat. This is beyond the scope of the project, which ends at the boat ramp. But it's looking south, and you can see the spray coming off that area by the boat ramp. During the December storm, BC Hydro was afraid they were going to lose some of their poles and nearby electrical service, and the pole would have come down across the road, so the road would be closed. So they actually, as a preventative measure, dispatched a vehicle to basically stand there and hold the poles up. That's how close we're getting to failure of their poles. And you can see there's not much room between the road and the foreshore. The pole really, there's no place you could relocate it. So the scope of the project runs from Sand Pines Road in the south to Southwind Road by the boat launch, and you can see the right-of-way for the boat launch showing there. This is the full detail, and if we take it in sections, you can see that it's divided into 4 images. So you've got Lazo Road. We're adding a 3-meter wide multi-use path. The riprap along the shore. These structures here are tethered wood waste, tethered logs. We'll show you more detail later. But if you imagine a log that has a root and it's tethered to boulders. This is a wheelchair accessible ramp down to the foreshore. Obviously, it's not going to be used in a storm like December 9th, but when the weather's nice, there's a fair number of people out there. And that access will be wheelchair accessible. The drawing shows that the poles from the hydro are still in place. So you've got a hydro pole and guy wires, hydro pole and guy wires. And it's similar as we move north along the beach. The total length of the project, I think, is around 700 meters. Is that right? So again, the multi-use path will run along the shoreline. In the next section, you've got two letdowns. Those are not wheelchair accessible ramps, but they are accesses to the beach. One of the things you'll notice is that there is not woody debris everywhere. The woody debris in this section ends here, and then it's just straight riprap all the way down. And that's basically the engineer has looked at the foreshore and the scouring and has customized the solution as you go along the beach. In the next section, you can see where there's kind of a little cut, and so there will be more woody debris along here, and you've got another access point there. And then the final section, this is Southwind Road up here. You've got two more access points.
So that's a parking area that's sort of back there. Parking area, is that a parking area to the right? Okay.
So to give you an idea of the profile, now the profile, if you actually look at the detailed plans, the profile varies. There's several different profiles, but I picked this one as kind of typical. So up top, you'll have beach hill. Down below, you'll have riprap and heavy riprap. So the heavy riprap are basically 1-ton objects, then 500 kilogram objects on top, anchored wooden debris, and then when you get up to the road, there'll be a setback that varies depending on where you are. A 3-meter wide walkway, a separation from Lazo Road. Does that make sense to everybody?
Just while they remove vegetation, beach debris and organic clay. That's the existing vegetation. I'm just curious as to why that would be.
Shelley?
I think that what they would do is to remove it to build it up, but they would replace it within the riprap and do a little bit of soft engineering as well. That's what the large woody debris is. So just to remove it to get it into place and then replant it within that bank as well.
So to give you an idea of what the woody debris looks like, if you can imagine a tree with its roots, and then it's ballasted with a boulder that's underground and then a boulder that's above ground, and it's held in place with a galvanized rope. So I'll show you a couple of photos from that Shelley was able to find of Kitikome Beach. And if you look at this tree here, you've got the roots, and you can see the galvanized wire, and you can see one of the boulders holding it in place. And then a few meters north of that, similar thing here, you can see the galvanized rope and the boulder anchoring it here. So not everything here is anchored. Some of the pieces are anchored, right? You can see anchors for some of them, others are not. And the storm action will bring in more woody debris that will kind of raft with what's been put in place. And the purpose of the woody debris, as I understand it, is that it breaks up the wave action more efficiently than just having a boulder.
Yeah, it's more of a softer, they would term it as a softer engineering, more of a green approach, and the large woody debris would assist with fish habitat, that'll still continue and remain, but locking them in will just reduce your operation and maintenance costs by keeping it in place.
And so that doesn't work all along that piece of coastline, because some of it's just going to be riprap, is that?
Yeah, that's right. Don kind of went through some of the stages. So some of the areas we're going to have just the large woody debris. Some areas is just the riprap, and the other areas is a combination of them both. So part of the engineering, they had some coastal engineering done. So they reviewed the list here of the wind data, the weather patterns, the frequency and magnitude of the waves, the tide, the storm surge level. So they took all that into account, and then at each location, at each profile, they did 20-meter sections, and depending on the length of the beach, the existing beach, depending on the elevation of the foreshore already in the bank, then they adjusted what proper engineering protection works that they were going to propose for those different areas. So that's why you see the 3 different types of treatments there.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Just wondering about the hydro lines, would they be undergrounded or taken or removed? They just be put back where they are? The other one was, that's a really popular biking route there, and a dangerous one, I would say. How does this fit in with any future trailways? I mean, I know this is necessary, so we have to do it anyway, but is there any thought into how that's going to connect some way in the future?
Well, a 3-meter wide multi-use path is 10 feet wide.
Yeah.
So for 700 meters, you'll have a path
Yeah.
used by walkers and bikers.
Right, but what I'm thinking of is, as you come down Lazo, at the corner of Lazo and Lazo, we have that strip that's actually on the other side of the road.
Yes.
So you come down, you have to cross the road, but there's all sorts of other trails through Northeast Woods that bring you down that way as well.
Yeah.
I'm just, I mean, I know we gotta do this anyway, but
Yeah.
it would be nice to be thinking that way.
Well, I think the one that you're talking about from Lazo and Lazo down to at least Guthrie anyway is, or maybe even just Beckton is in the financial plan. We'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's-
And then I know there's an RD piece in the middle there, and there's challenges, but just thinking towards the future for that piece.
Yes, this one is, this is not a new application. We had this under the previous version of Build Canada and so on. So this is
Your worship, I think,
probably the most important one that we have on our books. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to identify as well that this multi-use path and its location is part of our transportation study, as well as the OCP it's identified in both those plans as well.
Fair enough.
Councilor Sway.
This project only goes as far as the boat ramp, is that correct? So there's still a distance between the boat ramp and where along the beach there, before it goes up the hill. How long, do you have any idea how long that is, and is there any plan to be able to collaborate with anybody to complete that little section?
This is the section that actually is missing. So basically in the south end, if we have a picture, is this it here?
Yeah.
You can see where, I believe it's, I can't remember the address, but it would be the furthest one down in the south where we're starting. And they have the frontage of it's a private property, have it rip-wrapped, and you can see the erosion that's starting. So we were looking at, originally in 2011, 2012, when we were looking at this project, we were thinking of phasing it because it's such a huge project, but whenever you protect a section of the bank, you're making the other sections beside it more vulnerable. So you kind of have to do it as a full package. So to the north of the boat ramp is already ripped-wrapped as well. So this is the section that's missing.
Oh, so that,
Yeah,
that
it's
section's
all
already done.
ripped-wrapped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that, so is there any ability?
So the property Shelley was referring to is down here.
Yeah.
That's where we're starting.
I guess I'm just wondering if there's any ability to collaborate to continue the pathway to at least the bottom of that hill.
Talking about north of the boat ramp.
Yeah.
Well, these things will all be part of discussions, and that is Comar's property, I believe, all the way up the hill, is it not? Yes. So it's something we'll have to look at, but the foreshore erosion is not the issue there.
Yeah.
This, we're getting, hopefully if this gets approved, we get the pathway as part of it. It's a nice side benefit, but it's not the main focus. All right, anything further? Thank you for the presentation, staff. So, staff are submitting this application. I'm looking for, recommending that this application be submitted as our application to the Build Canada Fund. As you may have seen in the local papers, other communities have put their requests in for various things, and this is one that staff have identified as one, hopefully, that'll have the most chance of success for us.
I'll move the recommendation.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, thank you, staff, for bringing that forward. I know the timing of these things is tight, and I know you'll get it submitted in time. Because today is the deadline. Press send. So we'll deal with the late item now. That was regarding the appointment of a member of council who serves on the Sewage Commission to the Comox No. 2 Pump Station Advisory Group.
Are you looking for
Volunteer of the three.
I would recommend Maureen.
Councillor Swift, or Director
Well,
Swift.
I'd be willing to volunteer for this job simply because I've had the longest tenure, I guess, on the Sewage Commission, and I know Councillor Price and Grant are busy at the regional board,
Okay.
so I'd be willing to take it on.
All right, is there a seconder for that?
I'll second.
Okay, third, okay, any further discussion? Any other volunteers? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
Volunteers for the firing squad.
All right, well, it is a short-term committee. We see till May 12th, so good luck in your deliberations.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on, we have one piece of correspondence from Mr. John Kreiderman for receipt.
Move receipt.
Any discussion? Councillor Price.
Just that I imagine that's a very expensive piece of land. No.
Somebody threw out the number of $1.25 million. I think
That's what I heard, 1.6.
1.6. And I think the other issue with that property is a number of easements and right-of-ways across it. And as you'll see, starting as early as next week's committee of the whole, we have some budgetary challenges, so we can certainly take it into consideration, but you'll see that we have other things that probably are kind of hand priority. All those in favor of receipt then? Motion's carried. No other late items or delegations, reports from members of council. I'll go first. Just in the last couple of weeks, a couple highlights. I attended the throne speech in Victoria and had discussions with our MLA and other various cabinet ministers that I met there. I mentioned earlier that Councillor Swift and I were at the RHD and solid waste management meetings. And interestingly enough, there was a presentation there by Alan Langdon, the president of MMBC, so we had a chat about that contract with us and got some feedback on that, which I passed on to staff. What else? I was in Victoria as well early this week, yesterday morning. First thing, met with the Minister of Environment regarding MMBC. We got the Ministry's take on it, and they've given us some encouragement and some suggestions how we may proceed. So myself and staff will be working on that along with our MLA who's on the case there to try to get that hopefully sorted out before our current contract expires. And last but not least, I got word today that I got appointed to the RCMP Contract Oversight Committee that UBCM runs. So they were looking for volunteers, and I decided, maybe with some support from the UBCM director, to put my name forward. So we'll see what that entails. And we meet once or twice in Vancouver per year. I'm one of 2 reps for communities 5 to 15,000. So we'll report back on that as we know more. Councillor Margaret.
My week was 2 weeks was somewhat quiet. I did attend seniors board meeting, and that is the most pleasant experience because they can't say enough good about the town of Comox, and of course I nod my head, and thus our meeting concludes. So it's very easy. Also had the pleasure of attending the ceremony of the flag on Sunday. It was well attended, and I thought Lewis did an excellent job of putting it together, and it was all, again, good news.
Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, just 3 things. We attended the Family Day at the Comox Rec Center and the activities there. And as I mentioned last week, kudos to the Comox Rec staff for the the extra time they put in and the programs that they had. It was just packed, and nice to see so many young families and older people involved with that. Attended the opening of the Vancouver Island Agricultural Show on February 13th, and that was kudos to those that brought that to the Comox Valley, and it was very well attended. With in the morning, a number of the elementary schools were in session, so it was all ages that attended the agricultural show. So kudos to the economic group that brought that in. And finally, as well as Councillor Grant said, is that the Flag Day in Canada celebrations at the Comox Mall, kicking off Heritage Week, was wonderful, and it was great to see so many folks out there, and hopefully it's something that continues at the mall. Thank you.
Councillor Prince.
And yes, I had the privilege of giving the Heritage Award, the 2015 Heritage Award, at the Philberg Lodge Heritage Tea, and it was given to Louis Bartholomew, who has started and runs the Alberni project and created his own museum in the Comox Mall. And he was very surprised and very touched, and it was Councillor Grant was at the tea, and it was a very it was a privilege to be able to do it on behalf of the town, and
Thank you.
he was very pleased. I also was at the kick-off to Heritage Week and the running of the flag, and yeah, great use for our mall, hopefully every year. I also went on the walk for the murdered and missing Aboriginal women that is held in various parts, but Saturday was the first time it was held in the Comox Valley. It was very moving. And then the preceding week I was at UBCM executive meetings, and also at the regional board for we're doing a lot of budgeting and trying to get a good bottom line.
Councillor Swift.
Okay, well, as you know, I was at the solid waste management meeting and was thrilled that the organics program is continuing. So I was a little surprised at how controversial it was in some regards, but at least we got it until the 16th, or the 2016. And the hospital project is still on time and on budget, and I believe Mr. Sparrow is coming to our table to give a presentation regarding that. I attended the Flag Day ceremony, and if you haven't been down there, you should go, because there's some interesting displays there. And I did ask one of the people, and I said, where is this the rest of the year? Well, they pack it up and take it back to their house, so it's your opportunity to see it. Attended the Island Agricultural Show, and I know it was quite a coup for the Economic Development Group to get it here. I don't think the venue is quite ideal, but they were managing quite nicely, so that was good to see. And I attended the sewer meeting yesterday, and as you know, we're establishing an advisory committee to look for alternate sites. We have one site, but we're continuing to explore sites until May 12th. So that's about it.
All right, thank you, Councillor Arnott.
Yeah, two quick things. Yesterday afternoon, I attended the Wounded Warriors event. That's a group of military folks running down the island for mental health awareness. And then last week, the Department of Dignity launching for recent Wing Commander Colonel Benninger, who is now officially retired and going on to do the next chapter of the life.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I attended the water, sewer, and committee of the whole meetings at the RD, and just a couple of highlights in the water. They're estimating a fairly reasonable estimate of $55 million for a treatment plant. That looks like we're going to have to do it. We're hoping to get funding for most of that, and we've hired a consultant to look at our best options, whether we should be exactly what kind of treatment we should be looking at, whether it's right to go with the deep water intake first, or what that's all about. So we also had a presentation regarding rethinking our watershed, which is a joint presentation with Imagine Comox Valley and the Comox Valley Regional District, which is on Tuesday, February the 24th. 7 o'clock at the Stanhagen Theatre up at North Island College. So chance to learn a little bit more about our watershed and some of the issues that have come up. Also went to the sewer meeting, and as Maureen said, we set up the advisory committee. A couple of other parts of that that they'll be looking at are the economics of, if you change the site, there could be some significant economic impacts and technical issues with changing it. So all of that will be discussed at those meetings as well. We also looked at the plan for the homelessness referendum. If you remember at the election, we had the non-binding referendum, and it looks as though most people thought at least some money should come off, so we'll be looking at a report in May on that. Transit budget we deferred till next meeting, and the Economic Development Societies should have a draft contract for March the 3rd. And I also attended the Ag Show, and it's interesting that it was our Comox Valley Economic Development Society that actually set that up originally. Cowichan kind of hijacked it because they built a really good facility, but it was always meant to move around, so you're right, it was a bit of a coup to get it back into the Comox Valley, and it seemed to have been very well received, so that's my report.
Great, thank you. All right, media questions this time. Any questions from a member of the public? All right, that being the agenda, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Move.
In favor? Motion's carried.